Yes, well, I was born in Freeport, Grand Bahama, Bahamas, and but I was raised in a little tiny town called McLeanstown. It's so tiny, if you look on the map, you might not see it. You might not see that name on the map. So I was born in Freeport in 1978, and like I said, the rest of my life I grew up in McLeanstown, up until what Doreen, and then that shift a lot, you know. So I've been out of McLeanstown for a little while now, and excited. I'm excited about what is taking me back there. What is about to take me back, me and my family back there. So
I mean, this is jumping way ahead, but what's taking you back
yeah, I know. And I was like,
there? My curiosity is getting the best of me. What is it? And then I promise we'll come back. But is it the filming that's bringing you back?
well, the film did a lot. It helped bring awareness. It helped people to really know who Meko is. I think the film was really important, and I give a lot of credit to the producer Harrison Buck and his team because they knew me good enough to know my story, and they didn't they didn't allow me to cut anything out of it. They was like, we want people to know who Meko is, and so I say all that to say the film is one of the driving tool for me getting back to McLeanstown. But to avoid all the suspense is because in the midst of all of what have happened, McLeanstown is looking like the destination for the Meko Lodge in the near future.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way.
So I know this is probably supposed to be weird, but yeah, I'm excited, super excited about it because it's going to give me and my family an opportunity to get back home because we have been displaced for a long time. And obviously, we have always been connected to the community, to the church. And this gives us the opportunity to get back in the community, be back home, and also help rebuild the community and do what we could to help and support our community. So that's sort of like that's like I putting the end of the movie to the front.
That's all right. I actually
But
don't
it's all
mind those
good.
movies. This is really cool. To give the listener some context, we do know each other from fishing together when we were filming Buccaneers and Bones. And before we were
Yeah,
rolling,
yeah.
we were trying to do the math on that. And I'm one of those horrible people who does my timelines per boyfriends because all my relationships are long term. So I'm going, all right, Charles, 12 years,
Okay.
Ben, 4 years. So it would have been closer
Okay.
to like, I'm gonna say it's got to be closer to 15, maybe 13, 14 years ago, I think.
I would say so. I think 13 to 15 years is probably, yeah, yeah. I remember obviously meeting you at Deepwater Key and your casting and everything. And I don't know how you survive around all of the male anglers who think they can cast and then they see you coming and cut a fly rod and I remember all of the guides were they just couldn't believe it because we
Oh,
were not used to seeing like a female just I mean rip into it like you did and I bet every guy, and you taught the guides, if you remember, you taught the guides how to throw a spear rod.
I
That
forgot
was the
about
first
that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the first time most of the guides to Deepwater Key have ever held a spear rod. And I remember, I mean, and so it was a lot of good memories. Me, you, and Bill flying on the boat. I mean, yeah, I remember a lot about that. We had a lot of good times.
That was fun. And you made just as much of an impression. As soon as the guys messaged me about this movie, it was an immediate yes. Everything was just a yes. I wanted to
I
sit down with you. I
appreciate
want to
it.
hear the
I,
story. You leave an
I
impression.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Well,
I appreciate
let's talk about why you leave such an impression.
it.
Because at this point, a lot of people around the world know your name. They've fished with you, they've seen your personality. You are just this charismatic, very talented, um, constantly positive. I mean, from what I've seen anyway, beacon of light on the
Yeah.
bow of a boat. Or on the stern of a boat. I really feel confident fishing with you, and I want to talk about how we got there. So, how did you get into fishing as a little boy in the Bahamas?
Yeah, so it started at a real early age. I think from I was 4 or 5, my dad, Stanley, we call him AKA Stan the Man, which Stanley is solely responsible for the establishment of the North Riding Point Club. He was the guy that left and helped establish North Riding Point Club. But he worked the Deepwater Key for maybe 26 years prior to that. But he would always take me on the skiffs, always take me in the boat, always take me on the water from I was a 3, 4, 5 years old. So that's where it sort of started. And as I got a little older and I became a teenager, he started allowing me to put my hand on his fly rod because back then, April, you couldn't mess with your parents' fly rod. Fly rod was not the easiest thing to come along here, and so some of his clients would give him fly rods, but he was very particular with his fly rods. You touch the fly rod, it might not be a good night. And I remember, you're gonna like this. I was about 12 years old. He took me out to the flats with him, April. He still loved to wade at his age. No, let me rephrase that before he feel like I call him old. He's 70, but he's like 70, 50. You think he's 50 years old, but he's 70. But he went on the flat to wade, and I was in the boat, and he went wading for so long. I was like, I'm just gonna sit on the boat and wait till he comes back. And I remember these bonefish just came tailing around the boat, just tailing all around the boat. And he was way out in the distance. And I looked way out at him. Then I looked at the rod, looked out and looked at the rod. I'm thinking, should I touch it? Should I? And I couldn't resist those tailing bonefish. And I didn't know how to cast as good. I just grabbed the fly rod and I started whipping it back and forth, got it out there. And lo and behold, I hooked up on my first bonefish. April, I was so excited when I landed the bonefish. I forgot about the whipping I would have gotten from touching the rod. I got out of the boat and I ran down the whole flat. I ran all the way to my dad and I was like, "Hey, Daddy, I caught a bonefish." I didn't get any whipping. He hugged me, and I think that was the hook. That was the beginning of my my bone fishing obsession. And so a lot of people don't know, but that's how I really got hooked on. But I was on the water and in the skiffs from a very, very young age. So I've been seeing it all my life. And I know David Pender Sr., the founding guy at Deepwater Key, who's 91. He was still a premier. He's still alive. He's kicking. I mean, they got him boogieing down on Sunday to our little party. And but he did the same thing with me. I couldn't get away from it. My dad loved it, my grandfather, and just me growing up around that and being around it all the time. It was almost, I think it was embedded in me. And so I wish I had studied fly fishing in school.
Right.
I like to say that because one of the things me and Harrison Buck and others are talking about, April, and I know we're bouncing, but this
that's
is
cool.
just good. One of the things we're talking about is implementing more of this into the school system. So the young kids could really have an idea of the industry and the sport, what it's about. And so that's why I always make that phrase that I might have been better if I could have studied this in school, but I think it was embedded in me, and hopefully we could continue to work at what we're doing and eventually get this in the school curriculum, or form some fly fishing academy, just somewhere where we can bring the young people in and help them understand and teach them about the industry and what we love so much. I think that's very, very important for us over here in the Bahamas.
Yeah, because it reaches into economy, environment. There's all sorts of
Yes.
reasons why it is important to know as a community. So generational guiding is a big deal in the Bahamas. Was that the plan, do you think, to get you to be the next generation of guides for the family?
Yes, and yes, particular families for sure. I think my grandfather was intentional of his sons, the Penders, who have their own operation in Freeport. My dad, myself. I think he was intentional about making sure that the legacy carries on in the family. And I think anytime you find a guy that really stands out, like totally stands out, if you back check it, you will see where most of the times that's what happened. They came from that lineage, they came from that family, and generation after generations fishing or fishermen or guides. And so, yeah, I do believe that my grandfather was very intentional about his grandson and his sons, not just getting into the industry, but he always wanted us to be great.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that because some people will say that you guys have the best eyes in the world. And I'm always curious, is that a born trait? Is that something that you practice? I mean, obviously there's a lot of practice there, but I mean, I may as well ask
Yeah.
now. We're there right now. Your eyes, you can see fish from from miles away. Is that something that you were born with, do you think?
Yeah, I think, April, I think a lot of it is time, practice, just getting used to looking into the water. Today we were permit fishing and we found ourselves, Harrison was on the bow and we had current sweeping one way and the wind sweeping hard the next way. And it's almost like if you had looked at it too long, you would have gotten dizzy and sort of like tip off the boat because your eyes are not used to it. But they were feeling that more than me because I'm so used to seeing it, it didn't affect me much. And obviously, there's like that looked like a school of fish moving, but it was just the bottom, but it was the tide and the current going in two opposite way. I said all that to say it took me years and years of seeing that over and over and over again. And this is so good because a lot of people, this is like a guide secret we letting
Oh
out the
yeah.
bag here, which is cool. Um, a lot of people, the longer you see something, so I can go on a flat, April, and I've fished that flat so much it's almost like you going down a road and you know where the potholes is, right? And then I come down that road and I'm bombing, I'm knocking my wheels off. It ain't that I can't drive. I just don't know where those potholes is that April know that It's almost similar. It's like I'm out there so much and I've seen that flat so much. When you thinking it's a fish, I saw that rock like for the last 15 years sitting there. So to answer your question, I think you got to be able to have your vision must be okay, but the most honest answer is your eyes become trained to what you see a lot, and so I think that's the key. The more you do it and see it, and you see that, especially if you're looking at the same area for a long time, your eyes get used to seeing. So when I look for fish, sometime April, I'm not looking for the fish itself. I already know what the bottom is because I see it all the time. I'm looking for anything that is different from the bottom. You see, so I
Yeah.
this is some of the Meko secret. So I'm not like, where's the fish? Like I know what everything is there. I just looking to see anything that moves different from what I used to see, and that's how I begin to like hone in and track whatever I'm trying to see. So
Yeah, so it's almost like a brain recognition rather than searching with your eyes. Do you kind of let your eyes
yeah,
relax and go into a bit of a blur, not a blur as such, but an unfocused state so that it's your brain that's doing the work rather than your eyes?
yes. I tell you what, I'll answer. I'll tell you what, like my grandfather, David Sr., who's 91 now, he worked for over 20, almost 20 plus years with they did not know sunglasses. None. So yes, so over 20 years when they started guiding, no sunglasses, and they were seeing fish just as good as you and I seeing fish with all the new glasses and everything that is out there. And so that gives you an idea of I think the eyes can get trained to see in certain things. But that's just a good example of someone who done it for 20, 30 years with no glasses. And I mean, they were seeing fish just as good as we're seeing fish with glasses. But to answer your question, I think, I don't know, for saltwater fishing, most guys will come home at the end of the day and most of the time they have like a little headache across here. They feel like they have like a headache. Most of that headache occurs when you strain your eyes too hard looking. Like, yeah, if you looking too hard for anything in the water, it sort of puts a lot of strain on your eye and it gives you that slight headache. You'll feel it. most guides know about that. And anytime a guide say, "Oh, headache like every day," I'd be like, "You looking too hard." You just look. You using you're straining your eyes. So I like to relax my eyes when I look looking for fish, and I don't like to look in one direction. If you look in one spot, it sort of causes everything to focus there, and that's what. So I sort of scan almost like a half of a bubble, like. So
Yeah.
I'll scan, and if you scan and you just gently scan from left to right, that's to me that's the best way to sort of use your eyes when you sort of looking instead of just like just hard just focusing on one spot.
Yeah, and you probably miss things if you focus on one spot. I kind of liken it to deer hunting. When I go out deer hunting, I let myself go into this completely natural state because if I focus too much on one spot, I might miss what's going on over here. But when I just do the scanning and let all my instincts kick in, I can notice when something's wrong or different or just feels a little bit
Yes.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. So what about the scanning?
Yeah, no, that's the way to.
Do you go left to right? I'd heard people say that sometimes it's not a bad idea to train yourself to go right to left because then you look harder because you're not used to it.
Yeah, a lot of people do say that. I've tried that too, and I think there's some truth to that. But it goes back to sort of like what you're used to doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think it's some truth to that. Look from right to left. I think it's some truth to that. But most of the time, it goes back to sort of what you're used to. But I think the idea of scanning instead of looking, because that happens all the time,
Yeah.
especially if I'm looking for permit. Like there's times I'm looking for permit. Every now and again, I'm looking like 6 o'clock. Like, oh yeah, because there's times you pull in the current, and every time your pole hit the bottom, it kicks up a little sand or mud.
Yeah.
And sometimes a permit see that, and you could have a permit following you for 2 miles, and you just looking, and he's right there saying, "Hey, dude, I'm here." You know. So I don't only yeah. So sometimes I even look completely around just to make sure there's no fish trailing behind. So
Oh,
yeah.
it's
So
so much
those are
fun.
some good. Those are the good sighting techniques we talking about right now.
What did your grandpa say when when sunglasses started becoming popular? Was it a game changer or did he not like it?
My grandfather sort of makes fun of us new age anglers and guides. He said everything is sporty, like as a sport for us. He said back then, I mean, it was just like we go out and catch. He's like, you guys gotta buy sunglasses, you buying, fancy rods and reels and all this stuff. He said back then they threw a rock at a bonefish, he's gonna eat it. And so he loved the fact that it evolved to what it is, but he makes fun of us for sure. He said, y'all need way too much to do this thing to compare to what they needed back then. So
He's not wrong.
I
He's
like
not
to
wrong.
reference a lot to him because and he's been around so long. It's really cool that, and I think Harrison those saw that as a very important for the movie because now you have we had 5 generations in that movie, and one of the things that you probably didn't know, I'm not just a father, but I'm a grandfather now.
Wait, what?
I don't know
Wait,
if you know, I am a grandfather.
your son had a baby?
My daughter, my oldest daughter, yeah, not
Oh,
not Big Mike. My oldest daughter had a son, so I have a grandson. He's 2.
oh my
So
goodness.
I know I
Congratulations.
don't look it. I don't
You
look. I know
don't.
I don't look it.
No, no, you definitely
But
don't.
I said that. I said that so I could prove we have 5 generations that is still alive. You got David Senior, my grandfather. You got my dad. You got me. You got Big Mike, who is 16, and my grandson. And so I say all that to say, with David Senior being in the picture, you could really, and this is what the movie really did. You really can put all the pieces together. Sometimes you only able to put pieces together after someone already passed, and you
Mhm.
talk about them. But David Senior literally is in the film, and we having these conversation about how was it back then to compare to how is it now. And it's the coolest thing to be able to sit on side of him and hear him talk about how it was then and me talk about how it is now. And
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most special part of the filming and the movie for me. Anytime I can sit in an interview where he's answering questions. I love it because I always learn a lot of new stuff, and plus, is not a lot of that happening where you have that amount of generations still alive and able to share and in love with the same thing. I mean, we all love sport fishing, fly fishing, and fishing. So this is a special deal.
Were you in school? What was it like when you were younger? What's it like over there? I don't know anything about the Bahamas except for the handful of times I've been there.
Yeah, everyone goes to school. Everyone goes to school. Even up to my parents, they went to school in McLeanstown. Yeah, I went to school all through primary school, high school, and then for me, it was sort of the only thing I could compare it with is some guys who's really good at basketball or whatever. They'll be in high school and then they skip straight to the NBA. That was my experience into the bone fishing industry. Is I finished high school and then Deepwater Key was like, we got to check out this guy, and I skipped everything else. I went, took a couple days training with Mervin, and all of a sudden they gave me some uniform and said, "Hey, I need you to come in to work." That's how it happened, April. Yeah, I did a couple of day training with Mervin Thomas, which Mervin is an awesome, awesome guy. April, you might have remember
I
Mervin.
do.
We call
Yep.
him Swervin. You might remember Mervin when you used to Deepwater Key, and Mervin helped me out daily when it comes to the technical part of guiding, like the pulling the boat, angling the boat. He helped me with that a lot, and my dad was able to help teach Mervin how to guide. And my dad had left to go to North Riding Point, and now I go to Deepwater Key, and Mervin in return helped teach me how to pull a boat and spot fish and everything. And I must give some credit to Mervin Thomas because he's still alive also, but he's been one of those sort of silent veteran guides you don't hear a whole lot about. So this is a little opportunity for me to let the world know that there's a guy by the name of Mervin Thomas, and he was very instrumental in helping my development in the fly fishing industry. So primary school in McLeanstown, high school in Freeport. We were taking the bus every morning and evening from Freeport to McLeanstown. So hour and 20 minutes each way. So in the morning, I am on the bus for hour and 20 minutes. And then in the evening, I'm on the bus for the hour and 20 minutes. So it was a long haul. I used to like it for when I didn't do my homework at night. I could have completed on the bus ride before I
Uh-huh.
get to school. Everyone on the island pretty much have access, to public education.
Yeah. And then is that what you wanted to do though in high school, or did you have grand dreams of being I don't know, any other
So
profession?
good question. Never in school I thought I would have been where I'm at now as a guide, and obviously it bloomed. I really just wanted to be a good guide. All of this other stuff that is happening is great. I'm humbled by it, and it's I didn't see all of it that coming. But in high school, I got a really good grade uh, on electrical installation. So I was into electronic and electrical installation. That's what I majored in high school. And so in high school, when you get in grade 12, I don't know if they do this in the US or wherever, but you have to get your graduation grade, they would send you on a site. So they'll find somewhere that is constructing or building, and they do an electrical, and they say, okay, I'm going to send you to this particular site, and you're going to work along, and that's where you're going to get your grade, your graduation grade. Guess where they sent me,
Oh no,
which is crazy.
where?
They sent me, that's when North Riding Point in 1996, North Riding Point was getting built. They sent me, they didn't know, I didn't know either. They sent me to North Riding Point to help wire up and do the electrical there for me to get my grade. Not knowing that years later, because when I left Deepwater Key, where did I go? To North Riding Point. So the very lodge that was built there. I went underneath, and the guys who the foreman, they give you the worst and the hardest stuff to do when you're trying to get your grade.
Sounds like
There's
an
like,
apprenticeship. Yep.
yeah, there's like go underneath and take this drill, and there was like a lot of 2 by 12 planks from one end to the next. There's like take this drill and drill a hole in each one, and you run a flexi pipe all the way under the bill. I said all that to say, years later, I end up leaving Deepwater Key and go and making North Riding Point Club my home for about 8 to 10 years, not knowing that that was destiny, because I end up helping wire up the place, not knowing that I was going to end up there. And that's just an amazing story. I don't get to share much, but that always amazed me. I told my dad, because obviously he was there when I got there. I said, I could tell you exactly where all the warp is in the pipe because I put the pipe in there. So yeah, so really, I wish, that's why I like to say, I wish I had studied fly fishing, bone fishing in high school. It just sometimes you just wonder how that would have impacted you know, if it would have impacted you more or not. But yeah, so I didn't study it. They didn't have a class about fishing. They didn't have a class about none of what I does. But yeah, I was definitely fit to go and have an electrical job. I'm happy that it worked out the way
Yeah, me
it
too.
out because I love what I do, and I shared, even in the film, I shared that one of the most benefit I get from this career is not just the money I can make, but the friends. I mean, I met you years ago. That's all right. Yeah, I met you years ago. I mean, you know, Michael Keaton was there, Liam Neeson, Tom Brokaw. So to me, that tends to, and this is what I tell all the young guys and any guy who's going to work for the Meko Experience. I always tell them, like, hey, the money is good, but there's more value to it than that. That comes and go. But a relationship with an April or a Harrison or a Liam Neeson, that can last a lifetime. So hopefully someone needed to hear that. But that's how I see it. So for me, that's why I say this is like the best thing I could have ever gotten into. I mean, I can't imagine hooking up, wiring up a hotel could be this much fun. You know, that's what I had on the boat today. But and I'm not knocking anyone who's doing that, April. I'm just trying to share whatever that passion is, whatever that thing is that is inside you to do. There's nothing gonna replace that. And for me, I found what most people consider their blue flame, and the blue flame is finding that particular thing that just radiates out of you. And I think that goes back to one of your questions. What really makes Meko who he is? I think me finding my identity and who I am, and say, hey, I'm gonna just offer this to the world. And I think that's a good way to sort of say who Meko, what makes me who I am.
Yeah, you found
So
your calling. I mean, you definitely thrive. Is it common knowledge in the Bahamas that fly fishing or that fishing, no, not fishing, that fly fishing specifically brings so many people in? I mean, the Bahamas, for people who haven't been, it's a pretty busy place. There's all sorts of different businesses and different there's a lot of different things that contribute to the economy. Does the average Joe Blow on mainland, is it the mainland? Yeah, on the mainland,
yeah.
understand? Do they know and understand that fishing or fly fishing is such an important part of the economy? Is it an
So
important part of the economy? Am I just
it,
self-inflating?
it's vitally important,
Okay.
and I'm even shocked how many people didn't and still don't know about it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's becoming a little more known now. Um, Again, some of the work we have been doing is helping put that out there. And I think I mean, they see it on the island, the producer and everyone see it because people are coming up and saying, we didn't know that. We didn't even know anything about this. Yeah, I mean, my phone was ringing from the time the movie was premiere until now. It just rang a while ago. That's probably someone calling about it. But yeah, so April, that's a great question. I think it needs more awareness, need to come to the fly fishing industry in the Bahamas. And we have some ways of making sure that that happen. But you would be surprised how many Bahamians don't really know much about the fly fishing industry. But to answer another question, it brings one of the most revenue into the Bahamas, the fly fishing industry.
Yeah, right. What about the impact on people who want to harvest fish? I remember seeing traps and stuff, and I know that taking fish to eat is a big part of the culture there. And I participated in it happily eating various fish that we consider sport fish. So is there a little bit of contention there between the guys who want to harvest fish and the people who want to preserve them
It
or
depends on what you're
conserve them?
talking, which species. The bonefish, everyone is, the guides are very conscious of not having a bonefish for dinner or not bringing a bonefish in. The locals, years ago, before they even knew that bonefish was a sport fish, you would hear more about the netting and other stuff like that. I can happily say that that rarely happens now. I mean, it's very rare if you see that now. But other species of fish, like, I mean, we caught a nice fresh jack today, and my chef, we having jack fingers, and it's just like really good.
So good,
And
yeah.
if they don't believe me, here you
Oh,
go.
that looks awesome.
I think bringing awareness to the Bahamians and letting them know, we're not saying you can't eat any fish, eat the grouper in season or the jack or the snapper, but we helping them to understand, like, if you eat a bonefish, this is how they normally get it. If you eat a bonefish, we always say, if you eat a bonefish, you at least chewing up $5,000 a year. Right.
Right.
And when you bring it to them like that, and the reason we said that, because there was a study done maybe in 2012, there was a study done to show how much money is being spent when folks come to try to catch the elusive bonefish or permit, right? So they just did a calculation of all the revenue that comes in, and they divide it per fish. And back then it was five. Right now it's probably $10,000 if eaten. So I think sometime when you bring it like that, they be like, I can't eat that much money, So I always tell them the young people, the bonefish is way more valuable being alive than being in your plate, So so I think, again, just bringing on an awareness and things like this, even a podcast like this, I mean, it could help bring awareness to how important this industry is to the Bahamas. It's very, very important. But if you look at Deepwater Cay had McLeanstown, probably 70% of the people in McLeanstown was employed at Deepwater Cay. Then it expanded to Sweden's Key, the little fishing town east of Deepwater Cay. So if you really think about how many people that fishing lodge had employed, it just goes to show you the trickle effect of the fly fishing industry. And that's on the outer islands. They even need it more. They even benefit from it more than Grand Bahama Island.
Yeah, I can
So
see that for sure.
yeah.
So let's go back to your day when they throw the uniform at you and say, "You're up, get in the boat." First
Yeah.
season as a guide. What does it look like? Was it terrifying? Were you excited? Tell me everything.
It was it was yeah, it was terrifying. I didn't think it was going to happen that quick. But I guess when you decide to take the manager out, I was the manager, Paul Adams, who I took out at the time. After Mervin had gave me some, polling tips, and I think Mervin was going around saying, "Hey, that kid over there, I think he's going to be great," And I took the manager out at the time, and things were going good that day because he caught like 4 bonefish in a row, boom, 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 boom. It don't always happen like that, but he did, and I remember him popping open a bottle of collect. And he said, "Okay, we can go in now." He went into the office, came back, and that's when he gave me the uniform. But he didn't just give me the uniform. He said, "You can come in the next couple of days and start work." I did get really nervous then. Yeah, I got really, really nervous then. And I think, again, I came in, and you remember I talked earlier about having headaches when you look into it, and I used to have those
Right,
when
right.
I
So you
first
know.
started. That's how I can tell other guides now why it happens, why you have those. But it went a lot better than I thought. I was nervous because I thought, okay, I don't know what to do. I can, but the minute I went out there, I'm trying to remember if Marshall Field or someone was my first. I think it might have been Marshall Field, and he might have been my first client. He might have been. But it just something clicked, and the guests, I would feel like, oh man, I blew it today, and the guests would go in and just marvel about me to the manager. When I'm I'm going, I'm thinking, man, and that just kept happening and happening, and it went from, hey, this little 17-year-old kid, it looked like he know what he's doing. He's probably going to be good. I have some clients now, April, who when I first started, they started with me and they had these conversations on the bow, and I'm in the back listening, and they used to be like, you know, uh, when we turn 78, he's only gonna be 45, and stuff like that. And there's some I always remind them when they come, I was like, you guys were right. You're 78 and I'm 45 and I'm guiding you. But it's almost like some folks always thought that Meko was gonna be a great guy. And I appreciate that because back then I didn't really think I was going to be a great guy. I wanted to be, I wanted to be good. I wanted to be as good as any other guy. So yeah, that was very nerve wracking when he said, here's a uniform. See you in a couple of days.
Yeah, right. How about the rest of the guides? What's the culture there in the guide world? Do they need to keep you humble? Do they keep each other humble? Are they all pretty welcoming? Like, what were they like with you? Outside of your family, outside of your family.
Yeah, it's changing a little bit. It wasn't as easy. Coming up wasn't like the easiest thing as just a little young boy or the high school. I think um, what was harder for them, I think, is I wasn't talking about myself. I still don't like to as much unless I'm being asked, which is great. The guest was sort of talking about this Meko guy a lot, and I don't think that's sat really really well with most of them, because and I respected them too. I still respect them. Veteran guides, been guiding for a long time, and it's just this buzz about this young kid. He got great eyes. He can cast. He knows he can guide. And so to answer that question, it wasn't easy coming up, April. It
Yeah,
was not easy. If I say it was easy coming up through all I'll be lying.
I
So it
I know.
wasn't
I figured as much.
yeah, yeah.
Because the thing is that you can be with a great guide and have a wonderful day and get into fish and know that they're wonderful. It doesn't take long to figure out you're with a great guide. But if there's a weird silence in the boat or there's a weird energy, I don't know. I personally can feel it. Fishing with you was a whole experience.
Yeah,
Not from a talent stance. The talent was there. You're an amazing guide, but you kept the whole energy so amazing the entire time. Like I really felt as though I was in an entire experience. And then to get off the
appreciate that.
water, yeah, then to watch you with all the other guys and watch you pick up a fly rod and do your thing and the trick dancing with the
Oh, the spin. Yeah, the spin. You remember?
so
Yeah.
good. If I could try to have all of my flats trips be like they were with you, that's what I would want. So people would be booking you not just for the talent, but for the whole experience. And I know for a fact, as a guide myself, that some of your fellow guides don't like that. It can be
Right.
threatening in some, because it forces them to step up their game. So I've always wondered how you were faring or how you were doing navigating the rest of your peers.
Yeah. Yeah. It was April. It was very, very, yeah, it was a little difficult getting through all of that. But now I think they're looking and they're giving me a lot of compliments now. They're giving me a lot of compliments when it comes to that now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I could
yeah,
see
but it
that.
was
Let's talk a little bit about the Bahamas fishery. Why did the bonefish get so big there?
Yeah, well, I know on the north, we got big bonefish all around Grand Bahama, but I think one of the reason is if you look at where the flats are located when it comes to the deep water or the deeper water and the currents, that's a lot of people don't talk about the currents and the deeper water. Most of the fish grow a lot more when they're in certain currents and certain conditions. So that's one of the reasons, especially on the south side of Grand Bahama, because we're like right to the lip of the ocean. You go out a half a mile, sometimes you're in or 500 feet or more water. That's one of the reasons. And then on the North Shore, where if you ever say you want to go hunt big bones on Grand Bahama, most people are going to think about the North Shore. The bottom is a whole different, it's like rocky, hard bottom, a lot of crustaceans, crab and shrimp. And I think their diet is definitely different on the North Shore for sure. And I think a combination of the fish on the ocean side and then the fish on the north side and the diet they have, I think that have a lot to do with what makes our fish so big on the island. And like we talking about average, you know, we're not saying you just catch one or two big fish a year. I talking about not, you don't catch them every day, but if you on average, our fish runs big, and I think those are two of the main reasons why our fish runs big like that.
What's the biggest one you've seen landed in your time?
The biggest one I've landed was 15.5 pounds. 15.5. Yeah, that was on record. Yeah, 15.5 was the biggest one. But when I do tell people that he wasn't the biggest of the three, you know, they'll be like, oh yeah, you're just saying that. But he really wasn't the biggest of the three that my clients. And when I say I caught him with my client, you know. And yeah, rest in peace to Jim Easterling. That's who I caught that fish with. It's in some magazines, and it's if once I get the link up for it, I'll let you know. But it's the questions are great because I wasn't gonna mention Jim Easterling because he passed away, really good guy, but he was the guest that I had that experience with and who had that experience with me. And it was nice because his daughter from Houston, when he passed away, she called to let us know, and she said that was one of the memories that her father always talked about, even up to the time when he passed away. He always talked about that, and so it's funny how the questions come, but I wouldn't have talked about Jim Easterling if you didn't ask that question about the size of the fish. But yeah, I caught a 15.5 pounds with Jim, and I'm glad I did because obviously he's not here now, but again, that's something that he went to the grave, you know, knowing that he you know had the Meko experience.
I was just going to say the Meko experience with a 15 plus pounder. It's just
Yeah,
perfection.
yeah,
What about the other species over on the island? I know when we were there, there were some permit. I think we saw a snook. What else is over there?
yeah. So we got some snooks. I'm gonna officially start a snook hunt on the island because you know, I hooked up with three, didn't know how to handle them. April, I'm not ashamed to say that because I'm not like a snook guide. I'm a bonefish permit, but I hooked a few along the beach here, and I was using my bonefish tippet and leader, not knowing that all they have to do is say they shake their head, and so I know they're here. So I'm gonna start a snook hunt. I really want to land a few and have them on photo to show that we do have them here. So we have snooks, obviously permit. We were out today. We have bonefish, jacks. We got a nice jack crevalle today, and then we have long needle fish. Oh yeah, we today we almost had a tarpon. Tarpon almost jumped in the boat. Big one. Yeah, we had a big tarpon jumped. We were moving from one flat to the next just to go around. We were permit fishing, but he jumped straight out the water. Yes. And you know what you have to do when you come down here, what we didn't do in the film is you have to try to land a black tip or a spinner on the 10 weight or 12 weight fly rod.
Okay,
It's
we can do that.
it's amazing. It's incredible. We did some of that some years ago, and I was like, wow, I can't believe we have this here. And obviously, you know, we just catch and release. We cut the leader, let them go. But it's fun. You will love it.
Yeah,
It's
count
fun.
me in for all of it. We're coming down. We're absolutely coming down. Do the big bonefish always stay together? Is there ever a point where they break off and just go solo for the rest of their life?
I believe so. I believe the big ones, and I think that's what separates them too. I think when they get a certain size, I think they do break away. Because you know, most of the time, remember I said the 15.5, he was with two other bonefish. and they all were big, a little bigger than him. Three would be more. We would consider three a big school of bonefish, like a big bonefish. So most of the time they're by themselves, double, or maybe three big ones. Every now and again, April, you would get you would get surprised in certain areas I fish, and you would see 10 to 12, and you'd be like, I don't care which one we hook, just hook anyone because they're all big, but you don't see that much. But I do believe that the big ones break away from the schools, and they sort of start almost like a new life. I'm an elderly person, you all youngsters stay over there sort of deal. But yeah, I believe that for sure. The big ones do break away and do their own thing.
Yeah, cool. Let's loop in Harrison now. If you're around, Harrison, come on in. I
Yeah,
want to talk about this
I
film.
was saying, man, come over here, my buddy.
Hey.
How are your fish fingers?
Oh my God, so good. He didn't mention that these are also gluten free.
Oh, they're
Oh, are
gluten
they?
free.
I'm allergic to gluten, so I bring some flour down. And so the Meko experience is accommodating in all ways.
Yeah, you're
All
gonna
I'm
love it,
worried.
April. You are gonna love it.
It's
and
amazing.
You're gonna love it. I can't wait for you to come and have this experience.
I'm just worried that you're not eating. I feel bad. I'm interrupting your dinner.
No, these are appies. We're good.
Okay. Oh, good. You haven't even started dinner yet. Oh no, it's good. Well, let's talk about this. So, Harrison, would you mind giving us a brief introduction, explaining
Sure.
why I've just pulled you into this podcast?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a huge
Yeah,
fan of beers, and I'm honored to be here.
I'm stoked you're here.
I met Meko in 2012 on a family bone fishing trip, my first time to the Bahamas specifically for bonefish. And we hit it off. I didn't even fish with you that trip. We
No.
fished with my folks,
Yes.
and we had an awesome time. And my mom was like, you know what? You guys got to film together.
Yeah.
I was filming. I was in the middle editing a project for a client while we were down. And I was like, man, I would love to film this rather than what I actually liked what I was editing, but it was one of those like very indoor theater type projects. And I was here and editing at night. And I was like, man, I would love to film in a skiff. This is awesome. We created a little piece that trip, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later in 2014, I had this idea for a film, and we made it's called The Tightest Line, and it's a book of short stories about 5 North American fishing guides. And it was really trying to look at their really the environment, the guide, and the fish were kind of the 3 main characters of each chapter, and they're hyper stylized kind of mini short story vignettes, and Meko was one of them and kind of 2 of them, because we ended up doing a shark fishing seg, and we had a really great time. We got to kind of like solidify that we loved working together and finally got to do it together. That film, we didn't really know what we were doing as far as distro and all that. We got in a couple of film festivals. It was really fun, but I just knew all along that I loved working with guides, but in particular, I was like, you know what, there's just so much more to the story. There's just so much here. So after I worked in Colorado for a number of years for a ski resort doing their in-house video production. And then I knew the first project out was we needed to work together. There was just that much more we needed to cover. I just was like, there's a feature here at minimum. And I was so excited to kind of kick it off with him. And that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've had
a
lot has happened
from then to now.
You, me, but I mean, Hurricane Dorian happened right as we were coming back to film. Then COVID.
That's a big part. We're going to have to come back to that because I need to know what happened over there at some point.
I mean,
but keep going. Keep going.
It's a huge part of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had wrapped it up before that, who knows where our relationship be or anything like that. And it ended up changing the whole trajectory of our relationship, our wanting to work together, but also the film. We had all these plans that kind of had to shift up and pull back all our support. And you'll get into everything that happened here on the island. And we ended up pivoting. So the film went from being, about Meko and his family and all that, to that being really the context. And then the film really peaking about their experience with Hurricane COVID, hurricane, then COVID.
It was Hurricane
COVID.
Hurricane COVID was
Yeah.
also a thing.
Yeah.
But hurricane, then COVID, and then how they're rebuilding and how we're trying to put some of those things that you guys have already talked about, young guide situation, that there aren't any coming back, and trying to think about this as an opportunity to build and how we rebuild here, and that it's about self-sustaining Bahamian-owned businesses, and that why can't it be fly fishing? Why not? There's a lot of other industries here that aren't really Bahamian run, and why can't it be Bahamian owned businesses? Like you said, Deepwater Key there were 70 jobs for McLeanstown alone, and that's one of the most amazing parts of what Meko is doing with the Meko Experience. Is this isn't a foreign owned business. Every dime stays here, and every one of the paychecks goes right into this community, and that's a huge thesis in our film, is about not just the resiliency, but resiliency with purpose beyond just survival. It's resiliency with almost like not a clean slate in a positive way, but like what can we do with this, and why not give it a different look that hasn't been given before? And this is an opportunity to kind of shed light on that, and hopefully educate people as to why they'd want to do it that way.
This is cool because I remember my first time in the Bahamas. It was before you guys, but I didn't have that many trips before meeting you and Meko. But I had been there, and I was always very confused at the number of operations I'd been to. They were all run by Americans, and I thought that was, I always thought that was a little strange. But I thought maybe there's more here than I know. So let's talk about it. What is the history? Let's go back into Pender's days and talk about how it all started. Do we know this?
I mean, you should take that. But it's
you're talking about how the industry started, right? Yeah, 19 but this was actually before 1958. My grandfather started working on Deepwater Cay before 1958. Deepwater Cay was established in 58, but they had 3-4 years of just, cutting down mangroves. When I say mangrove, cutting out places to get the beach clear and to put up little cottages and stuff on Deepwater Cay. So, he literally is solely responsible probably for everything that's happening, obviously on Grand Bahama, but even in the bonefishing industry in the Bahamas, just because of what they did at the initial stage. I don't think my grandfather even saw, I don't think he saw where it was going to end up, the industry.
Yeah.
I just think he knew that was the right thing to
facilitating somebody's hobby.
Right.
He knew this one family, and it was like Gil Drake, right?
Yes.
And getting to know the Drakes, I'll just help because I've been eating up the story now.
I want to hear all of it. So go for it.
In a lot of ways, my understanding, or at least when I heard about it, was that they saw him hand casting and it was like, oh my God, well, let's put a rod in that guy's hand, show him that, and what he was able to then show them over the area, and how cool that was. But it seems a little bit like supporting this one hobby for this one group for a little while until it just started to catch on.
Right.
But as far as what ties into what we were talking about before, it's the number. I don't have the numbers, but it's so correct me if I'm wrong, but a far majority is foreign owned as far as operations. As far as like bonefish guide operations is almost exclusively British, American, and Canadian owned operations that employ the guide, or maybe a couple of people in the community, depending on the op. It's hard. You can't generalize about the entire space, but the difference here is every single person is from that community that's being hired, from the cleaners to your mom and your aunt who are cooking for us right now.
Yeah, you remember
to your dad who helps guide. And
April, you probably remember Delcine and Ludell. They actually stay with me now.
Really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
They literally chefing up right now in the kitchen. But April, this
the BFFA is where I was going.
Yeah,
you should talk about. This
is such an important question you asked, April, because it's really huge. Because even getting to this point, I've only been doing this for maybe over 2 years.
Barely, yeah.
And April, I had the opportunity to take, I like to call it the easier way, is where you just book your folks, put them in a hotel, grab them every morning and take them out, fishing. But I wanted to offer again an experience, and I wanted to help like way beyond just me and my family. So I figured the best way to do that is to create a lodge, create a place where people can come and have an experience, but we also can create jobs and opportunities for other people. So I decided to take what some may call the harder route, and that's to create the Meko Experience Lodge. But Harrison could tell you, me and my wife, we stand out like a sore thumb in the industry now because we are what you said you never saw, and you was wondering why don't I see more of this? So we are standing like a sore thumb because we stepped up to the plate and we said, hey, this is the industry that God gave us, and we should be the leaders in the industry. We should be the ones that pretty much control the industry in a good way when I say control. But I must add, and Harrison knows a bit about this because we became really close.
Yeah.
Really, really close. Like, I mean, we were always like close as friends, but the movie and all that, he had to know everything because it was a movie documentary. So he knows what a lot of people don't know. And again, he put a lot of it in the film. And some of the things he said, Meko, you can't leave that out. They got to really know who you are, what you went through. And I was like, wow, I found someone who's willing to put the real Meko out there. But I've been involved with a guide association, which I think means well to the Bahamas. It's called BFFIA, Bahama Fly Fishing Industry Association. The president is Mr. Prescott Smith and Andres, and some other guys from all around the Bahamas. But I've been involved with that industry, and what we've been really doing is trying to create that same awareness to most of the guides and the Bahamians that, hey, independent guys, like, hey, we could take it up a notch. We can become owners in the industry, and because our best interest is to help help our people. We do have other stuff that happens on the island, other investments that come to the island. And I wouldn't just call one of them now that's happening here, but and folks get excited about it. But then when you look at it, it's the same. It takes everyone back to the same place of what you were saying years ago, But I'm happy that me and my wife decide to take the role in this, because now we have other young Bahamian kids are looking up to us and saying, wow, if they can do it, if they can establish a lodge and create something and be owners, then we can do it. And so we might have missed a lot, but because we took the stand, I think there's a lot of other younger people now, people that is looking and saying, hey, we can do that also. But it's great that you asked that question and you saw that. But that's some of the things that we are trying to change, the mindset of people when it comes to that.
And you've been doing that. I mean, that's a kind of the BFFIA Bahamian Fly Fishing Industry Association is, like we said, independent. And so this is really about the Bahamians that are running these operations and guiding for themselves or fighting for the Bahamian the actual Bahamian industry.
Yeah.
And it was really an opportunity to display what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
Because so much of this is in a vacuum. Everybody's so separate.
Yeah.
They're different islands.
Yeah.
This was the second conclave, and it, I think, tripled in size.
It tripled in size.
This was in Nassau like a couple weeks ago, and they invited me down. We got to show the short version of the film in front of 100 guides.
Yeah.
We got to talk about some of the practices that we learned in the filming of this, where we were really actively working on our keep fish wet techniques and big steelhead nets and stuff like that we were actively using to help with predation and all these. We got to present on that, but you got to present on your personal marketing.
Yeah.
And we were talking kind of as a team about things like why best fish practices, but also best photography practices matter for your brands, why personal marketing matters, why bringing your family network into it. It was it was so cool. And then hear from all these other people, and it was
Yes.
such a beautiful,
Yeah.
like the kind of thing we've been talking about at large, like this competitive island to island thing isn't
Yes.
working for anybody. We need to unify and let everyone just talk about what they're learning,
Mhm.
kind of set up a baseline and be able to support each other, because you can't be competing with nothing that you don't understand and you don't know. And why not unify and actually protect these places? And it was such a
It
cool
was
thing to
great.
witness.
April,
Oh my God,
you
you
would
would love
love
it.
what's
It was
happening.
beautiful.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not the most popular thing to do, the way to go, but we believe that we could help make an impact and bring change. Like you say, there's a lot of segregation in the industry, if we sort of being quite honest with it. But we believe that I always tell them, I was like, our relationship sort of shows it like this, and then we want what people see with me and Harrison. Two different persons for two different countries. Have the same interest, or we want to do well and help the Bahamian people and everything. I think if everyone, the bigger organizations, can see that the same way, I think there's an opportunity here to help sort of squash some of stuff that has been needing to be squashed for a long time.
Yeah.
But I said that because it's not easy doing it, April, because then you sort of get looked at a certain way. And so I'm honored for this podcast because this helps people understand what we're really trying to do. Because the narrative sometimes gets out wrong.
Yeah.
And
People
I
will
like to,
always question your motive. There's zero doubt
yeah,
about it.
so it's great that we could share this, and we believe that is a lot of good that can come out of it. But like I say, seeing 100 guides from around the country, emerge in Nassau for this guide conclave, and then it got the government attention because I was able to address the Prime Minister of the Bahamas for the first time.
So
Now you
cool.
got to see that clip. I was
Oh, you
Is
got
this
it.
yeah.
in the film? Is this in the film?
No, because
No,
Oh,
this
bummer,
just
because this just
just
came
happened,
out.
happened.
right?
Just happened
Oh
a
Yeah.
few
yeah,
weeks ago.
yeah, a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, this is like after
it was
the film's
crazy.
been done for a year. No,
Yeah,
this was like
Did you
yeah.
film it? I'd love to have you could have a follow-up
Yeah, we can send it a link. Yeah, and I had the opportunity. I was like, wow, it goes back to what you said earlier when you was asking me about my childhood. Like, nowhere in the world I was going to dream that I was going to be able to like stand in front of the prime
PM
minister,
was going to show up.
yeah, and address the prime minister and really share some of the things we sharing with you. He wanted to know, we needed him to know how important this industry is to us. And I don't know, Harrison could tell you, I brought my big Mike, Big
Out
Mike.
of school.
He skipped school that day to be there. That's how important that was to me. And I wanted the prime minister to see how important that is to us as Bahamians. And it was funny when I said he doesn't go to government school, so I said that so he would, in case they try to give him some problems. But I told him, I said that's how important it is to me.
Well,
And
and the
then
baby.
and my baby,
I was holding the baby in the corner, and then you were
the new Godfather, the Godfather, of my daughter. But yeah, I brought my wife over, and she was
she was 4 months.
4 months at the time.
Yeah.
And I think, we thought we would have had more time to talk to the prime minister, but you know how it is. He said, "Oh, y'all gonna have 30 minutes," and then, "Oh, you got 4 guys, got 6 minutes," and we had to divide that. And I was like, "Okay, I didn't need no notes and all that stuff. Let me just look him in his eyes and speak my heart for the 30 seconds I had." And I was able to allude to him that, I brought my wife. I paid for my wife to come, my kids, my baby, my newborn baby, and my son. And I said, this is how important this is to me, my family, and every guy that is in here. That's how important it is. And sometimes when people get it,
Yeah.
and you could look in the prime minister's eyes, and he got it.
Yeah.
Every guy in the room was talking about it the whole next day. They're like,
yes.
"Did you see that? We all saw him get it."
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, so
it was so cool.
It was so cool to see
get
that.
government support.
Yes.
For maybe the first time in the entire history of,
which is shocking to me that it's taken so long to get support. And I need to bring this up too, because this isn't just a story of dedication and ingenuity and hard work. This is risk. And I'm talking from a business stance. The reason why so many people from other countries have been able to come in is because depending on how they manage their finances or business write-offs or whatever it is that they're trying to do with their money, it may make sense, but for you, the reason why people do the hotels and the quote unquote easier way is because they don't want to take on the risk. And if you do take on the risk, it needs to obviously be balanced in the reward. But for you, this was a huge risk. Have we spoke about this yet? About the
No,
risk?
I will help.
Yeah, he could help with that.
I'm only just going to tee you
No,
up
you could,
because,
yeah.
and we don't need to get too personal with it,
Mhm.
but the way that this man operates is, as far as that, is on a different level. This is, everyone gets a paycheck first.
Oh yeah, you could tell. You could share
There
that
is
story. Yeah.
there, every single person here gets the paycheck before he does, and that is when you talk about risk, but also where putting your money where your mouth is and saying, I'm going to support this community. And you're like, no, to a point where you all will be fine no matter what, because we're going to do this the right way.
Yeah.
That's as far, I'm just teeing you up.
Yeah, no,
that is about you have taught me about what risk, but also, we have some really wonderful conversations about what, maybe not risk, but what success means, and how, if you're running your own business, you can define success kind of however you want. If some people might define success fiscally only, and if Q1 didn't hit the right way, then we weren't successful.
Right.
But what does success mean to you?
Yeah, I mean,
paying your whole family full wage.
Yeah, really seeing my family and my community, seeing them doing better, and Harrison, again, he knows a lot, because again, we shared a lot. We close, but we shared, but we shared a lot. And again, we wanted the movie to be really real. And so a lot of stuff he knows, and I think it was like 2 years. I could share this on the podcast. 2 years, not one paycheck for me.
I believe that.
2 years. But and anyone, I guess any entrepreneur, like you say, someone who start and really mean well, I think most of them would say, that's how it is. But
did you bring in investors? Sorry, I know this is personal. You don't have to answer it on air, but no investors. So this is, if it only took you 2 years, that's pretty good.
No investors.
2 years, all him.
Yeah, no investors at all. No bank loan.
After COVID.
No bank loan, no investors.
Oh my
Nothing. Just whatever I had, I just started like so. It was a fake journey, to be honest. They say just take that. They say take the first step of faith. Like we say that like a cliche, but I learned that is like factual. Like you take that first step of faith, not even knowing if you're gonna step on something. But that's what I did, and we're here now. And again, there are no investors at all. Like no, not yet. Now, not yet. Now the next phase, the next phase that we talked about early. The next phase is probably gonna consist of some, needing some investors to make that
to scale.
Yeah. But for right now,
But to your question, I think as you're becoming you don't have snow down here, but we call it the snowplow. If you got to pave the way for somebody, there is a huge amount of risk in that if you're doing it that way, but it's tremendous. It's tremendously, it's so admirable in the way that it's gone about. And that's not without its potential pitfalls or terrifying months, but it's no one else is feeling it. And that's one of those things that I don't think any other businesses can tout.
Yeah.
Are the other companies saying anything? How are the rest of the guys managing you at this moment in time? I'm treading carefully here. Because it is a snowplow. This is a major plow. It could be changing the way in a lot of different aspects. So
I think you wanted, April, and I know you're being careful of how you say it and what you say, which is great. But I know that so I can answer, right? It is. I've seen changes in the last 2 years that I didn't think I would have seen from some of my former homes, like places that I pour all of me into. And the one thing you would know, even when you met me, like a Deepwater Key, wherever I'm at, I pour everything I have there. So even though I was working for other companies, I still was given everything I had.
Yeah.
It just got to that point at the last company that my head was pretty much hitting the ceiling, and I knew, I think one of the this would be cool on your show. One of the one of the one of the ways I knew that it was getting to that point is I got some of my me brand. You know, I developed a brand called the me brand. We got to
Oh
get you
yeah,
some
we
the
can
Meko
ship you some
brand, and
Meko stuff.
I I got a couple to play with, and but I was working at another place, and some of my guests was like, "Man, I want a couple of those hats," and I was so excited, April, to bring the hat, and and I was like, I would have given to no, we're gonna how much we'll pay you for these, and a few of the clients put the hats on while they were at that particular club, and then they came to me the next day with a sad face, and it was like, I don't think we could wear your me brand hats and because of conflict of interest or whatever. I think from when that started, April, I think deep down inside I knew, okay, there's something is about to change because obviously that means the rest of what I have in me to give, it seems to me like it wasn't gonna happen there. So for people who might wonder why did he leave? They were really treating him well or whatever. It was because again, it was a little more than the money for me. It was what I really wanted to see happen. And so I say all that to say is that's I knew it was coming when I saw that.
That
Yeah.
was
Right.
a master class in easy stepping.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
I can't believe how you just told that story and you're like,
Yeah.
nope, 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 nope.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
Yeah.
can
the
tell
story.
he's a
Yeah.
flats
Yeah. I gotta
guide.
make sure. I gotta
He
make sure.
kept it, he kept it all together
I got
and thread the needle and
I,
also like just
A-
landmines
April is
everywhere.
I can't do nothing that will impact April podcast
No
in
way.
no kind of negative way. Oh
No,
yeah,
listen,
so
you should
yeah.
never
It was
be
beautiful.
ashamed of doing what's best for you and your family, especially if your integrity isn't intact. And I commend you for it. So I will be curious to watch what
Appreciate it.
happens with the snowplow in the next little bit. So, what is this lodge? Tell me about it. And also, before we go there, because I need to also know about the hurricane and how it impacted you personally and emotionally at the time and COVID. Were you doing other things? Like, what does the timeline look in that era? Because we've skipped it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Hurricane Dorian affected me and my family tremendously in so many ways. I think the movie showed some of it to a certain extent. And I think again, like the young man that came to me in Harrison today and say, "Oh, I was in the movie Saturday night and I cried and I cried and I cried," because we we put some of what we went through in that film so people could really know what we went through. Well, I was living in McLeanstown. Me and my family had my home, everything in McLeanstown, and we were white. I talking about my parents' home, my home. I mean, was totally white. My house ended up 300 feet off the foundation of where it was, like 300 feet somewhere else. And my parents' house, and many people in McLeanstown, I mean, just lost everything. And I'm just saying house, but we lost everything. Everything I ever had. I mean, everything. Down to my fly rods, fly reels, I know, and then the worst part of the whole deal, and this is in the movie also, we lost lives, we lost loved ones. I lost about 5 family members in McLeanstown,
Oh, no.
and my wife lost other family members just further down in another town. But it affected us tremendously. I mean, to the point now that we hadn't settled back in McLeanstown yet. So we still in the west side of Grand Bahama. We're still in Freeport. And so again, I think I said earlier, the one thing that I love about the next move, the Meko Lodge, is beyond everything else that it's gonna bring, it's gonna allow me, my family, and other people from the town who needs to get back home. It gives us a reason and an opportunity to get back home and settle in. And
Right.
so I'm very, very excited about that, almost as much as anything else. That this is an opportunity to create something that that would make sense for me and my family and others to really get back home in McLeanstown. Like I say, besides the life that has been lost, I mean, you know, we were displaced for a while. We end up in the United States for a while. So, some of this is in the movie also. We end up in the United States. I think that was like maybe like a year period. We was on September 2019. And so we had like a year of 6 months. Yeah, like 6 months, but and it was real survival mode. Like, I mean, we as a father and a husband, I was doing whatever I could do to help my family at that point. And we have some really good friends in the USA who said, "Hey, we see what you're going through. We want you to come over here. Come over here for a couple months, try to figure some things out." And we did. We took that opportunity, which I was grateful for that. But talking about storms, as a result of that, we got caught up in another storm because here it is that we sort of trying to survive. We displaced, lost everything, lost family members. I mean, lose everything. And now not trying to live in the United States, but we were accused
of course, you would be. Yeah.
Run from the Bahamas and living in the United States.
Yeah.
And for that, then things got even worse because then we got visa cancellation. Everyone in my whole family, visa cancellations for 5 years before we could even apply to even get a visa. And that was like another storm because it's like, here's a guy and his family, pretty much trying to survive, was given the opportunity to, get out of my situation for a few months. And for some reason that was looked at by a U.S. immigration person as, and I did, Jessica, I'm on the podcast explaining everything to you and talking to you and being transparent and honest. Same way I was with the officer. And I guess I said, if being honest causes this, then I would still be honest, but it cost a lot more pain and misery, and it affected my family. It affected my kids. Couldn't go to college. My daughter couldn't go travel to the States. She was already accepted in Valencia, a college in Orlando.
Oh, what
and
a
she
mess.
couldn't go.
Right,
Big
of
Mike,
course.
my son, he plays basketball. He runs track and field. When the school is traveling overseas, he can't go. Obviously the business we are in, going to trade shows and ICAST shows and, being able to move about. I didn't go to one premiere of the Meko screening in the United States. And I'm thankful for the guy who was sitting on side of me who's gonna be back soon, because he was able to stand in the gap and represent Meko, McLeanstown, and the Bahamian folks. I was never so proud. He was, I think it was 3S. 3S is a place in New Hampshire. And he had a photo of him outside of the door with a big Bahamian flag across his shoulder, and to represent Meko, the Bahamas, on the film. And I'll say that he's here now, but I'll tell him again, that meant the world to me, my family, and McLeanstown in the country, to know that, yeah, I'm blocked out from the U.S. for now. I can't move, but someone is saying I'm going to stand in the gap and I'm going to tell this story. This story is going to be told. April, that's just like one of the other things people don't really know that me and my family have been enduring. So when he subtitled the movie, when we subtitled it "Weather the Storm," it really was weathering the storm, and we still weathering it because we still here and we still got maybe a little over a year or so before we even could attempt to, try to get the visa situation sorted out. But when it do, I'm coming. You're gonna take me steelhead fishing.
Yes, count me in.
Yeah,
just bypass America. Come straight to Canada.
Exactly. That's true.
We can probably get you there.
Yeah. But yeah, April. It's been a lot that we had to endure. The storm, like I said, and then we got COVID was right after the storm. So it was like it was storm, then you got COVID.
30 days.
Yeah.
Guiding.
Yeah.
Between
coming wasn't no work. And that was the thing, is like we had an opportunity, April, to file for I think it's an asylum, right? Asylum? Asylum. We had an opportunity to apply for that. And this is what really messed me up with the whole situation. I didn't even apply for it because my intentions was not to get stuck or be over there. And you're right. And I keep hearing like, oh, if you apply for it, you might have to sit for 3 months before you can move. And I was like, no way, so it's like, I mean, I have, yes, but I have clients who's lawyers and they all have, so a lot of them was like, hey, I actually had, and I think I could find it in my old email. I had a form sent to me and my family to sign to get the asylum. And we refused to, we didn't even touch it because our whole thinking was we're not over here to stay. We didn't, we just want things clear up home enough for it to make sense for me and my family to get back home. And so, and so that's what made it so frustrating to me. I was like, guys, I could have done stuff to try to stay over here and I didn't. But you guys are claiming that that's the thing that we are trying to do. And so it took me and my family a couple of years of, getting denied in Nassau. After we got denied so much at the visa place and I saw my wife and kids crying, walking back to the hotel, I was like, you know what? Let's just leave it alone. Just leave it. And I just really got tired of seeing them. It's almost like heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. So I was like, leave it alone, let it blow by. And we hope that when that time comes to apply, they don't give us any issue then, but so it's a whole lot. I mean, I don't know if my baby brother probably was not working to Deepwater Key when you were there. He probably wasn't there yet, but in the midst of all of that, I lost my baby brother. I mean, my baby brother passed away with us 2 years ago.
Yeah, he was like near like the tail end of COVID.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, because he couldn't.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah, because he couldn't get airlift. He couldn't get airlift to the United States because of COVID. There wasn't no.
That's right.
Right.
Because of the visa situation.
Yeah, he couldn't get airlifted, and then it wasn't. They were like, it wasn't no room for him to be able to get in the hospital that he needed to. But anyway, April, that's just sharing another layer of what. That's why we dedicated the movie to my brother who passed away, and Harrison, best friend, who passed away also. But these are just layers and layers of things that we had to endure, even after Hurricane Dorian. So and so that was another blow. I did my first eulogy was my brother. The first eulogy I've ever done was for my brother's funeral, and that was like the most bittersweet thing I've ever done. It was an honor to be able to do it because I know he would have won, and that's what my pastor was like. It was like, who's going to do the eulogy? Who's going to? And everyone in the room just their head went to me, and I was like, I didn't even try. I was like, okay, because they knew that's what he would have wanted, right?
Yeah.
But just as much as was the best feeling, it was sort of the worst feeling also to do that.
And he was the one that pushed you.
He pushed me, April. The last conversation I had before he got in the accident was he was teaching me the canal system in Freeport because he knew how to run through the canal better than I did. And I remember that day he talked about the Meko Experience. I was telling him what I envisioned doing. I was like, I want to do the Meko Experience. I want to create a lodge. And, he's like, bro, just go ahead and do it. You got me. Just let me know what you need me to do. And that was like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And after 11 o'clock that day, he was a passenger in a car accident. And after about 3 months of fighting for his life, he just didn't pull through it. And so again, even when I do what I do now, it's like I sort of do it with that sitting there knowing that that's what my brother this is what he really wanted to see. And so I know that might have went a little beyond what we was maybe wanted to go, but that's just from heart to heart. This is what's flowing off my heart now. But but So it's just a lot. We went through a lot, and I'm thankful again. And I said it in the movie. If we didn't have faith to hold on to April, I wouldn't have been able. I wouldn't have been on this podcast with you if I didn't have something faith to hold on to. And I didn't shy away from that in the movie at all. Because I think like people do need to know, because there's a lot of other people that is going through a lot of stuff now. But I think it's a little different when you see someone who've been through it and able to share and say, hey, man, if you only got faith to hold on to, don't let go, right? That's I mean, that's like, you know.
And you still are positive and optimistic and all the things that we love about you.
Definitely.
Tell me about the Meko experience. So it's a physical lodge. Where is it? What does it look like? What phase are you in?
Yeah, so this we call this like this phase two we in now.
We're entering phase two.
Entering phase two. Phase one was just pretty much getting all the plans, the ideas together and established, and then making sure everything sort of sink in and fit. And that's been amazing in the last two seasons. Beyond where most people think we should be in 2 years, like we way beyond. Even some of my clients, they come and they say, Meko, we just don't believe this, like this is two seasons of you being in business. But for right now, we have a really, really nice location. We're sitting right on the beach. It's in the east side of Grand Bahama, Pelican Point. And this is where we've been for pretty much the last 2 seasons. And everything was more, I wanted the location was very crucial to the plan I envisioned. Working for some other places, I've heard clients, oh man, this ride is so long. I wish it was a shorter ride, getting to the flat, And so I heard it. And obviously I've been to Deepwater Key where that wasn't the case. Oh man, I love Deepwater Key. You just come right down from the room on the pew and the boat. So I was like, okay, I've heard both sides. So now I have to figure out, okay, how could I make this work and put a little bit, like, see if I can sort of center all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted the location to be a lot closer to launching and fishing area. And that's why we choose Pelican Point, which is like 10 minutes away from McLeanstown. So it's really close to McLeanstown where we launch. That was key. Having me being able to snatch my mom, who has over 30-year experience at Deepwater Key, and then snatch my aunt Delcina, who is one of the most amazing chefs that was at Deepwater Key. And then my dad, who I worked for at North Riding Point, he decided to come with retirement and work for me. So my dad, so I have an amazing support team. I have an amazing support team. And so so location, having the right people, April, on board to make all of this happen. And then the guides, making sure that the guides that are working along with me, they're, high quality, nice guides and who've been in it for a long time. And I think that's probably what caused the Meko experience to blossom so quick, is because all of those pieces right there everyone was seasoned. It wasn't like they knew and they got to figure this thing out. I mean, they came into it knowing everything they needed to know about it. So that's a big part of what I think make the Meko experience so special. Phase two that we about to step into April, it's more mobile. If you think about the Meko experience as one large, multiple location, right? That's so the next phase, and I say in the next phase because I believe that it's probably going to take a next full season or next year while I'm doing the multiple location to get the Meko Lodge in McLeanstown done. And so I'm excited about, I'm excited about this phase that it's about to end here. And then I'm going to start the phase of where I choose some really unique spots and locations and accommodations for my clients that would allow us to fish in and do things even on a different level. But again, I'm excited about that. And during that time, we're gonna be full force and on working on the Meko Lodge that would be on the north shore of McLeanstown, a unique spot. Nothing I've ever been there before.
Oh my goodness,
Nothing,
this is exciting.
nothing.
What's your
Yeah,
website? Can people look and book at this
def-
stage?
definitely. It's mekobahamas.com, Meko Bahamas.com. You go on mekobahamas.com, you'll see everything that we're doing now. We're gonna put some information on that for people to see what we're doing in the future. As a matter of fact, um, Destinations magazine just recent fly fishing
Fly fisherman destination.
fly fisherman destination magazine just did a 4-page article on not just the Meko experience, but also my family legacy, and they did a write-up about the next phase. And I thought that's pretty. So if anyone want to check that out, it's definitely there. Harrison, you could give a little more of that information on that magazine.
They were really cool. We had an awesome trip down here. We brought Josh Bergen from Montana. It took him 2 days to get down here. Got to introduce him to the whole family. It was cool. They got touched on the film, but really what we're trying to drive to is just getting people here. And it's really exciting. There's people talk about an eco lodge. This is the Meko Lodge. This is a whole different thing.
It's like, that's good. I like that.
This is not just the best Bahamian bone fishing lodge out there. It's the other way around. This is an eco lodge that happens to be the best bone fishing.
Yeah, that's how we like to put it. Yeah,
we got a whole different thing going. We got all kinds of stuff you can do, which is, I think, what's so exciting. You can bring your family.
I feel like you could bring the whole family and there'd be things to do. What about the film? Real quickly, while we're on the subject of websites, what about the film? Where can people see the film? Can they see it online yet?
Not yet. So the short, we cut a 20-minute version of the short film, and it just got an F3T, the fly fishing film tour. For 2025. We're super excited. Yeah. We don't know the programming yet, and if it's going to be in the full tour or just from the pool, but we'll know really soon, so we can fill you in on that. The feature length version of the film, we're on like the 1 yard line to getting our distribution deal done, and it will hopefully, we're super close to getting the ink dry and getting it on a distribution platform, a streaming platform that you probably have a link to already, as far as like a login to already, something known, something that people are familiar with. We want to make it real easy to spread the word about our film Meko, the Meko Experience, East End and Grand Bahama, Bahamian owned lodges, all of it.
Exciting. Ooh, I'm excited for the off the record part of this.
I'll just do the last, like, mekobahamas.com to book with Meko.
Yes.
And then for us, it's Pandion Creative, PANDION creative.com. That's where you can find the trailer for Meko we will hopefully have all our distros sorted out, and we'll get that info to you, and we can fill those gaps in later as far as where you'll be able to see it. Because hopefully when this goes live, you might be able to see it on your hopefully on your home Apple TV or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're getting close, and we're just overjoyed about what we've got going on now and what's coming up.